Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 245. I'm your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Wednesday evening here in early August, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Scott Coleman. Scott, our first episode post-deadline was a few days ago. This is number 2 for us, our follow-up, and a lot of stuff to talk about that's not necessarily on-field related. How are you?
Hey, that's a win, Brad. These are dark days for the Atlanta Braves, and we will take some legitimate news and a trade rumor that went down too. So there's a lot to talk about. And it's funny. You're a man who spends some time on Twitter and on Braves Twitter. Do you know how hard it is to get a consensus on literally anything? So tonight, you do. So tonight I asked out loud, is this officially the most disappointing Braves season relative to expectations, hopes, dreams, on-field performance, off-field stuff? Is this the most disappointing Braves season in 40 years? And I didn't do a poll, but I bet if I dropped a poll, it would be 98% yes. And that is, that's 4 decades, man. I'm in my mid-30s. This is far and away the worst Brave season I have ever watched.
Yeah, there's probably a deeper dive we can do on this when it's actually over at the end, but I think that certainly it's in the running. I think there are some other candidates that we'd like to probably ignore right now because it just feels so terrible in the moment. But if you go back to 91, 40 years is a pretty round number. 35 is the span of when they were awesome, basically, and for most of the last 35 years. And that's for a lot of people, their entire life. I don't know what year you were born, but I think it was just before 91-ish.
I'm a 91 baby, so I don't want to take credit for the division run.
Literally your entire life they've been good, basically. There have been a couple of times when they weren't, but there's a couple of seasons where they fell short of expectations, but not quite in the level of this season. If you're certainly doing compared to what they were supposed to be, it's not even close. This is the obvious answer if you do that, if that's your calculus. So great things to talk about in early August when there's still 49 games left in the season after today.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say 49 games. Who is counting though, right?
We are counting. You know what, Scott, we'll come back to some other stuff about that, but we got enough questions over the last, 36 hours about this trade rumor that you just mentioned that we'll lead with that tonight because it's a little change up. We would normally do some other stuff, but what's not today. There was a report from Dan Hayes at The Athletic, who I think is a credible source, covers the Twins very well. He reported the Braves as a team with interest in Byron Buxton, talented outfielder for the Twins. He later tweeted, in addition to writing an article, that the Braves were, quote, one of 2 teams who pushed extremely hard, end quote, for Buxton pre-deadline. Now, we'll get back into this in a second. The big thing with Buxton is that he has a full no-trade clause that apparently he was eager to utilize, exercise, whatever word you want to use. He apparently just has no desire to leave Minnesota at this point. So it's kind of a non-story, but also it's very interesting. And Byron Buxton, as someone who lives in Georgia, Byron Buxton is from Georgia.
Yeah.
He was a high school number 2 overall pick, but he has a local connection. I don't know if he was a Braves fan growing up, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was. He probably was if you had to just – most people who live here are Braves fans. So interesting story. He's really talented, polarizing player. Speaking of non-consensus, I'm sure you saw every take under the sun over the last 2 days like I did about whether the Braves should have done this or should have wanted to. And again, we understand that Buxton could just say no, and it's that simple. But it's interesting that the Braves were apparently eager to at least go after him.
So it's really interesting because Buxton was adamant that he was not going to waive his no-trade clause and that he wants to stay in Minnesota. That being said, the Twins are maybe trying to be sold. There's some talk about that. And Minnesota just did a full-on fire sale. And not only did they do a mini fire sale at the deadline, but there's belief that the Twins might just completely gut this thing this offseason. They have more pieces they can trade. Of course, they just traded Carlos Correa. They have some really good pitchers who they could move and really just kind of do a fire start to their rebuild that they're going to need to do. It's a veteran team. Clearly, they're not very good this year. So maybe Buxton comes down off of the I'm not waiving my trade clause, because if he looks around and he's like, Jesus, we're going to lose 100 games the next 3 years, maybe he doesn't want to spend the rest of his playing days in that situation. But I believe he also has a young family, and he might not want to uproot his kids. And no trade clauses are hard to get in the majors, and players value them. There's so much more than just the baseball aspect to it. So we'll see. I guess we should spend a couple minutes on Buxton, because this was all people were talking about when this article came out. But I mean, polarizing, I think, is the perfect word to describe him.
Yeah, trade rumors are always interesting in fan bases, but particularly when the product's so bad on the field, it was like, oh, this is a interesting topic that we haven't had anything. So Buxton is, let's just say this, he's very, very good when he plays. When he plays. And that's the biggest thing about it. Big time hitter, one of the fastest players in baseball by the numbers. We'll come back to that in a second. But the huge injury history is the biggest topic with Buxton beyond him just being awesome. I pull the numbers starting after 2020 because it was a shortened season. It makes everybody's games played look lower because they didn't play a lot of games in 2020. But he was actually injured before this too. It did not start in 2021, but I pulled the numbers since the COVID season. The first 4 years post-COVID season, 21 through 24, he averaged 85 games per season, which is basically half the year. Right. This year, he's actually played 85 games already. So he's actually on pace to play more than 100 this year, maybe as high as like 120. That's not 162, but it's a lot more games than he's been averaging. And look, since he broke out basically in 2017, he's still like in the top 10 or 15 in Major League Baseball in terms of like Fangraphs WAR among outfielders. Like he's been still that good as far as, what it is, but he just doesn't play. That's the thing. Everyone understands he's really good. He doesn't play.
And the big question, of course, was if you believe the reporting, and you said Dan Hayes, very reputable reporter for The Athletic, but the Braves have 3 outfielders. At least in a perfect world, they have 3 outfielders with Ronald Acuna Jr., Michael Harris, and Jurickson Profar. The real question, and it's not a big surprise that the Braves and the Mets and other teams are intrigued by Buxton, because if you get a healthy season out of the guy, or even a mostly healthy season, he's going to be one of the better, more productive outfielders in baseball. But you have those 3 players. You also have a DH spot that's opening up, so that opens some possibilities. I don't believe there were any names mentioned or specifics in that report on who the Braves might be willing to part with, or but I would not be surprised. Sometimes when you hear these mid-season rumors, they turn into more fire in the offseason, because it sure sounds like the Braves and the Twins talked. And for all those reasons, there's so many fascinating layers to this, because the Braves also have, not only do they have Acuna, Harris, and Profar, but Acuna is an obvious injury risk. Buxton is about as much of an injury risk as there is in Major League Baseball. And Jurickson Profar, there's some real questions about his defense moving forward and what it's going to look like in the next 2 years, assuming he's with the team. So there was just so many. When this report came down, my head spun for like 5 minutes of like, well, I get it, but I also don't get it. And you'd have to move around some chairs and figure things out. But I guess it's a good sign, at least, that Alex Anthopoulos is willing to really think outside the box and try to infuse some new talent into this team, because clearly this year is just not working.
Yeah, and I mean, if all I told you was Buxton's numbers, I mean, last 5 seasons, he has an 860 OPS and a 136 WRC plus. Plus, he can run, he can defend. Like, obviously, you want that guy, right?
And you might be able to keep him a little healthier if you put him in a corner instead of center field where he's playing.
Which presumably would be the case, and we won't go through all of this, but yeah, I mean, you were right. They didn't attach any names to the reporting about what the Braves were trying to send. Maybe it didn't get that far. Maybe it got as far as Byron's going to not approve the trade, so why are we even talking about this? But yeah, maybe it was Harris that Alex was trying to trade or would have thought about trading. Maybe it was Profar. Maybe it was neither. And you explore a world in which you have 4 outfielders plus the DH spot to operate in, and maybe you have Profar DH some, you have Ronnie DH some. Like there's some interesting worlds. Even Buxton sometimes, he's a good defender, but just keep him healthy. To your point. So, and then of course that creates the where does Baldwin and where does Murphy go question. Like we're aware of that. It's hard to dissect without knowing what they were trying to offer, but it's pretty firm. I mean, I trust this reporting enough to at least think the Braves had interest in Buxton and vocalize that interest to the Twins. And I'm intrigued. And, obviously, it goes without saying, even if the Twins are trying to sell on their team, they weren't going to just give Buxton away. Like, he's on a pretty good contract. It's like $15 million a year, and he's much better than that when he's actually playing. So it would have taken something, whether it was prospects, whether it was Harris, whether it was whatever it was going to be. So maybe we'll never know. But yeah, your point's a great one. That's part of the reason why we're doing this now, is that a lot of times these like little fireworks, maybe like sparklers, become fireworks is the way maybe I'll put it. Like maybe they revisit this in the winter, and maybe Buxton still says no. Like that's well within his rights to be like, no thanks, I'm good. But it would be interesting to see if they were actually to talk about this stuff again.
Yeah, definitely something to just kind of file in the back of our minds. And when we start really thinking about the offseason, maybe this is a sign that, hey, if a player is talented, the Braves should be in a situation where they feel like they can move some pieces around and be unconventional. And yeah, maybe they don't necessarily need an outfielder, but if you could rotate 4 outfielders and have a DH and then use Murphy or Baldwin to acquire other assets or whatever it is they need to do, as we sit here, the Atlanta Braves have the second best odds at getting the number 1 pick in the draft next summer. When you say that out loud, the next sentence you should say is that everything is on the table this offseason.
Yep. And while I understand the urge in some corners to say, wait, that's why would they want another outfielder? I think we've probably learned, at least maybe you should have learned by now, that you do need depth. Like if you haven't watched this Braves team the last 2 years and thought that at some point that depth is important or more important than the Braves have treated it in recent years, like, yeah, you could have the best starting 8, starting 9, and 5 starting guys are going to get hurt. Like you need, and the Braves have had zero depth basically at every spot other than catcher. They've had no depth for a couple of years now, and they paid the price for that. So, unless you have anything else to add, I thought it was interesting for sure, and maybe we could do a dissection if this becomes back on the table in the winter, and I'm sure we would dive into it again as far as like the actual machinations. But I thought it was an eyebrow raiser and certainly worthy of a podcast topic in early August.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was like, oh man, Byron Buxton. So many reasons to say yes, so many reasons to say no. Everything from performance to injury risk to contract to return. It was really interesting. I'm sure you said it exactly right at the start. Everybody, there were opinions on every side from, oh my God, whatever the Twins want, let's get Byron Buxton, to, are you nuts? Why on earth would we want to add this guy to the team? He plays 45 games a year.
He plays more than that, but it's there's been some seasons where he's played 45 games, so that's it's man, it's really interesting. It really is. If you were trying to pick like the player in baseball that might have been like the most polarizing, it might be Buxton, because there are people that get super duper mad about injuries. Like there are people that want to send Ronald Acuna to Mars right now because he gets hurt every once in a while. Like, you know what I mean? Like
and if you think Acuna gets hurt a lot, I mean,
that's what I mean.
Buxton, yeah.
So anyway, we'll come back to that if we need to. We'll get to some more baseball stuff on the field, as well as some, at least one unfortunate injury update, and also another interesting injury update for a starting pitcher who might have won the Cy Young last year. We'll get into that more in a second after a word from our partners.
AJ, I'm on my phone right now in Arena Club, and I'm looking at the Emerald slab packs, and I see in the Grail a Bobby Witt Jr. 2020 Bowman Chrome Prospect Auto Gold Refractor card.
Give me that. Give me your phone. I'm gonna get you to
you gotta buy
that to me.
I don't have it.
I thought you had it.
Get a slab pack. No, I don't have that.
Then give me your slab pack.
That card's worth.
You buy me slab pack, Scott, so I can get the Bobby Witt Jr. Gold Refractor 2020 Bowman Chrome Auto, because that sounds awesome.
And it's worth a lot.
It's worth a lot. He's a stud. He's not going down. Get a Grail. Get a Grail. I want a Grail, Scott. Give me the Holy Grail. You do it.
To do that, you must get yourself a slab pack in Arena Club. Or if you want to get it for a friend, you can do that too. And right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or your first card purchase. If you're going on there and you're just like, hey, I want a specific card, I find it there, I want to grab it for my showroom, arenaclub.com/foul and use the code FOUL.
All right, Scott, there was an unfortunate injury update. I know our friends Steven and Sean covered a lot of injury update ground on the most recent episode on this feed. That was a not random, but like an assortment of injury updates in one day from Brian Sicker. It was like, let's talk about all the injuries. And here's 4 or 5 updates. Since then, by the way, listen to that show, of course, if you missed anything. Since then, the Braves didn't formally announce, but Snit basically announced that Joe Jimenez has been shut down from throwing. He was kind of ramping up, trying to get back. Discomfort in the surgically repaired knee that he had surgery on back in November. Not ideal. Doesn't seem like we have any more than that, other than they shut him down. We can go back into some history with Jimenez. Like, I think on the show, we probably said 10 times, like, if he pitches this year, this is when they were even supposed to be good this year. If he pitches, it was kind of a bonus. Like, the timeline for his recovery was going to be like late in the season at the absolute best. So it's not like it's a huge blow for this year for obvious reasons, but he's a guy who's signed for next year, and honestly is on paper like the incumbent closer for next year if he's back and healthy. And if he can't get right now, it's not ideal. I'm not saying you pour dirt on him or anything like that, but caution's is the way to go here. But anytime you hear shut down for surgically repaired knee, you don't like that.
No, you don't. And I think if the Braves were 2 games up, maybe it would be handled a little differently, but they're dead. So I'm in favor. I ever since it's been talked about that the Braves might rush some of these pitchers back from injuries, I have been banging my head against the desk because it just doesn't make much sense. I get that you don't necessarily want a pitcher to go like 18 months without throwing competitive pitches, but why push Jimenez? It was a far more serious knee injury than anyone was expecting. And he's a big boy. You know, like he's like 6'5", 250 pounds. So that's a lot of torque that he's putting on that knee. So sure, we would have loved to see Jimenez healthy and firing 98 fastballs in September if he truly felt 100%. But at this point, give him another couple of months off, let him rest, let him rehab, keep building up strength in the knee, and then get him on a throwing program in December and January and kind of see where you're at, because Jimenez should be, assuming he's healthy, a really big piece of this bullpen next year.
Yeah, and not to relitigate all of it, but that was a big blow when they were not expecting him to be out for as long as he was. When they went to go clean up the knee, it was like, oh, this is bad. They got to surgically repair this. And that was a surprise injury update in November to say, oh, by the way, he's out 8 to 12 months was the timeline they gave us. Whoa, that's the whole season, maybe. And it is the whole season, it seems.
Yeah, it was a huge loss. I mean, again, not that Joe Jimenez would have saved the entire season, but it was. No. I mean, I think we even said during the spring, like we should not be overlooking the loss of Joe Jimenez because it was a while ago now, but he was legitimately as good as any reliever in the game last season, outside of like the very elites. So, not a small thing. Hopefully, he'll have almost 18 months to distance himself from that knee. Jimenez also had back surgery a couple years ago, so he's had some legitimate procedures that were done. So you just hope, cross your fingers, give him some more time off, and let's ideally he is an 8th or 9th inning option for this team come 2026.
He's a very big man. He's paid like a high leverage reliever, and they need him to be good next year. I mean, he's not like high on the priority list as far as like guys we'll talk about, but he is important. Like I would say sneakily so. So not great information there to get on a Tuesday that we learned that information, but we'll come back to that when we need to. The other thing I sort of alluded to about the injury update was about Chris Sale. He's actually going to throw live batting practice on Thursday. According to Snit, there's no like plan after that's in place, but throwing live BP means you're ramping up, like you're trying to pitch. And you already just kind of stated your opinion on all of these things. And we've also joked and not so joked that Chris Sale is the kind of guy where like they may not be able to keep him off the mound. Chris Sale is a maniac in the best way, as we always say. They also did say, Snitwood said he would at least probably throw at least one rehab start before returning. I don't want Chris Sale to pitch. You just said that. You just said, I think the same thing. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want Sale to pitch this year. I also think that he might just pitch because this is not, I mean, look, and this is a bigger picture topic too. The Braves have been bad at telling their own players that they have to not play or not do things. And I think Sale might be like the ultimate example of that as a guy who might just go in and punch someone if they try to tell him he can't pitch. I'm joking, but I'm not.
Cut some jerseys up.
It seems like he might be pitching in September. I don't like that, but what are you gonna do?
I think what is today, August 6th. I get it, and it was just broken ribs. Now, if it was an elbow, Schwellenbach is 25 years old and has a broken bone in his elbow. That is significantly different than
stop pitching, Spencer. Please stop pitching.
Right. Yeah. And they're going to shut him down as they should. But with Sale, I get it. He's a competitor. He wants to go out there. Now, let's say that Sale is back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, pitching for the Braves. I don't necessarily want him pitching until game 162. If Sale wants to go out there and make 3 or 4 starts just to get his arm and his body going, as long as there's no warning signs like a dip in velocity or something like that, I mean, we're all going to have to just hold our breath every time Sale goes out there. But because it was a bone, I can't imagine there's any risk of re-aggravating a broken rib unless he goes and dives for a baseball again. So it's not ideal. I think in an ideal world, Sale would have never dove for that baseball to preserve a complete game shutout. But I think as long as Sale doesn't have any warning signs and the doctors are convinced he is 100% and there won't be any lasting effects, sure. Let Sale make a couple of starts if he wants to, and then shut him down maybe by the 3rd week in September and say, hey, let's go get him in 2026.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I should have said it too. Like it not being an arm injury or even like a leg plant injury, it's not going to mess with him, you would think. Obviously, you can't pitch with a broken rib, but as long as he's healthy and healed up, there's no reason that he can't go. So it does make it a little bit different. It's a great point. Please be careful with him, I would say. And that goes for everybody. I mean, we'll get into this in September, but even guys who are healthy as they possibly could be, I would be super careful with in September.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to have, I mean, honestly, they're going to have a Matt Olson conversation. Like, should Matt Olson play every single game this season? I know he has the consecutive game streak, but should he really play every game this season? I would ask that question. And look, he's not been hurt for years and years and years, knock on wood. But it's hard when you played every single game for years and years and years and years, and you're not hurt. But really, do I want to see Matt Olson play on September 27th? I kind of don't, to be honest.
I don't disagree with you. I think Matt would fight like hell in order to keep his streak.
I get it. Yeah,
because
I get it.
I think Olson's streak is getting up there in the top whatever in baseball history for consecutive games played. That's not a small thing. That's
and I think
cool,
he's going to play. I mean, look, the Braves. We've made fun of this, and even more than that, the Braves don't tend to overrule their players, probably to a fault. I mean, Ronnie playing not long ago, Ronnie playing when he shouldn't have been playing. Freddie used to play when he shouldn't be playing. There's documented evidence of this for a long time. I don't think they're going to tell Matt he can't play. I'm just saying, that's probably the most prime example of a guy who's not even hurt, but it's man, really, you're 30 games out. Do we need to be doing this right now? So. It's also philosophical. It's also same thing with. I mean, every time we bring this up, I don't know about you, we get fans that are mad at us that we're not grinding through every game the same way. And it's we're not rooting for the team to lose in the same way that some others are. There's that nuance we bring up all the time now, too often maybe. But there are some fans that are just no, treat it like every other game. We want the team to win, play as hard as you can. And I get it. I just think it's maybe prudent to not push as hard. I don't know.
Yeah, just be careful and be smart over these final 2 months. Spencer Strider, who pitched on Wednesday night, Spencer is going to almost certainly get shut down here at some point, probably in September, but no need to push him coming off the elbow surgery. I mean, we talked about Grant Holmes was probably to the end of his road or nearing it anyway, and then he gets hurt, which is really unfortunate. So I think we're going to see a lot of Joey Wentz, Hurston Waldrop, Didier Fuentes, Eric Fetty, like those types are going to make a lot of starts with this team down the stretch because there's just no need for Strider to go balls to the wall in a year where you're going to be 25 games below 500.
Yeah, pitching even more so, for sure. I used a couple of position player examples like Matt, but pitching is even more so. Like there's mileage on your arm that you would like to avoid, if nothing else, in a lost season under key guys. So we'll leave it there for now. We will get into some actual on-field stuff to end the podcast in a second. A couple of losses, and in fact, a sweep at home in not great fashion. We'll get into all of that and more, Scott, after a word from our partners.
Kratz, there are a lot of people out there that pay rent and they don't get anything for it.
Might as well change that. You can get some rewards for flights, hotels, tons of stuff.
With Bilt, you can earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards airlines, hotels, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and much more. It doesn't stop there. Bilt is about making your entire neighborhood more rewarding. You can dine out at your favorite local restaurants and enjoy experiences just for Bilt members every month. They're turning a monthly expense into an opportunity to earn rewards and discover the best that your neighborhood has to offer. Your rent is finally working for you. Earn points on rent and around your neighborhood, wherever you call home, by going to joinbilt.com/foul. That's joinbilt.com/FOUL. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. joinbilt.com/foul. Go for it.
Okay, Scott, let's wrap this thing up with a sweep loss at the hands of the Brewers. The Braves did threaten tonight with a Michael Harris home run in the ninth on Wednesday to get within one. They ended up losing 5-4. Before we dive into the actual games, as predicted by us, I would say, on Sunday, there was nobody at the ballpark this week. Nobody.
It was a ghost town. I called it a morgue on Twitter. I mean, people were posting photos. I know the Braves announced 30 some odd thousand people at the last 3 games, but I mean, it might have been like 15,000 people. It was as empty as I have ever seen Truist Park, man. And it's sad. And I get it. Like, I understand why, especially the way the Braves have restricted reselling of season tickets, especially, which is a load of, crap. No one's going to be there, and no one's going to, I mean, it's sad. I wish you watch the Braves right now. And then the other night I flipped on the Phillies game and Citizens Bank Park is packed and going nuts because Kyle Schwarber homered again. And it's just like the envy right now. And it's really unfortunate that we're at this situation.
Yeah. And we did get into it on Sunday. Won't really get all of it, but it was a perfect storm too. Like, obviously the lows of the low on the field, weather concerns, playing an opponent that is really good, but not a name brand opponent. School started this week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like, it was just all the signs were there. We saw it coming. And I know people were confused by this. The attendance number is announced by any team. This is not just the Braves thing. This is any team, is a tickets sold / distributed number. It is not a people in the building number. Keep that in mind. So when they say 30,000, they're not lying. That's the number of tickets they've distributed. Season ticket holders, all that stuff. But there were not that many people in the building. I can guarantee you that right now from multiple sources. I wasn't there, but between pictures and people that I know were there, media folks, other fans, it was not 30,000 people. I could promise you that. So it's just one little thing. It doesn't matter that much. But two, we poked fun at it. But the notion that some were throwing out there at the deadline that the Braves wanted to maintain some sort of respectability and get the building filled by not trading guys like Clay, that was never realistic. Like, they're going to draw a bet. Like, even this weekend, they're playing the Marlins. Who are the Marlins? They will draw better this weekend. It's a weekend. Sure. People like to admit. I've been at the Battery for plenty of bad teams. Like, on a weekend, the Battery will still be popping. That's just it's a cool thing to do. It's outside. They will have no trouble drawing on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. They just won't against anybody. Now, it won't be packed in the way it would be against the Dodgers if they were good, but they will draw fine. It's the weekday games where on a Tuesday night, like, it's not a small thing to have to go to the ballpark from anywhere around Atlanta on a weeknight. And if you don't want to really go, you ain't going right now.
I've seen people, we were talking about it, and people have said, hey, I am trying to give my tickets away. and
Yeah.
nobody wants to go. Someone even said I was offering tickets and a parking pass, and I could not find someone to go on,
Well,
I
I'll
think,
go.
Monday night.
I'll do that. If anyone wants to offer me that, I'll go most nights. If I'm
There you
home,
go. Yeah,
I'll
and I love baseball. Like, any level. I'm not a local, but I get it, man. Like, people are frustrated. It's school.
airfare. If you want to pay for Scott's airfare, he'll come to a game. In the near future.
If anybody has that private jet, send it on out. We'll give you a nice little shout out on the show, and
we might have honestly, there would not be surprised if we had a fan that has like a Wheels Up connection or something like that. So somebody that listens to the show that's like a rich person that's like, hey, Scott, want to get on my plane? Anyway, that's not where I wanted to start necessarily, but it's just like it was a looming specter, and they got swept. I mean, we'll talk about it for a second. I know Steven and Sean talked about the first game of the sweep on Monday, but Tuesday's loss was like a pretty 20-25 Braves loss. They lose by 5 runs on a game where they had plenty of chances. They left 14 on base. Like, it was just like a throw. It was like throwback to like May when we still had hope, and they would have these nights where they just couldn't get anything going in big spots. It was like that.
Someone had a note, and I don't have it exactly in front of me, but I believe with the bases loaded, the Braves struck out 3 times in full counts on pitches that would have been ball 4.
Perfect.
Tell me that is not the most 2024, 2025 Atlanta Braves stat imaginable. I did not catch a lot of it. Thankfully, I had plans with my wife, much more fun than watching that game, because I was just scrolling through the game day box score, and it was like, oh my God. Oh, they left the bases loaded. Oh, they left the bases loaded again. Oh, they committed an error. It was just, I mean, it's mind numbing just how bad this team is sometimes.
Yeah. The aforementioned Joey Wentz had his worst start as a Brave. He still wasn't even that bad. He had a couple bad moments in that start. He did actually. I'm going to spin this positively for Joey Wentz. He has pitched 5 times for the Braves, 23 and a third innings. His ERA is like 3.1, FIP of like 2.5. Like, he's actually been good. I don't know if that's real. He wasn't very good on Tuesday, but he's a small bright spot in the wilderness, I guess.
Yeah.
And to your point earlier, he's going to pitch. I mean, guys that will not be shut down. If he is able to pitch, he will keep pitching. All the way through.
For sure. And I agree. I don't think Wentz is necessarily like a long-term fixture, but if he pitches well for the next 2 months, he's going to make like $1 million next season. He's probably worth keeping around and at least, tendering him maybe a 2-way contract, or I think Wentz still has minor league options. So you can do a split deal, whatever it is. I think Wentz has shown at least enough through 5 starts that you can keep him around. And maybe the Braves have figured something out with Rick Kranitz, and the pitching staff have tried to maybe reinvent him a little bit, because clearly what Wentz was doing before this was just not working out.
Yeah, maybe, as we've discussed, maybe he's like your 8th starter next year. And you do need 8 starters. You need 9, 10 starters. So no one's saying he's going to be one of your best 5 coming into the season next year. But if you have guys that are in your 8, 9, 10 spots that can actually pitch respectable major league innings, that is actually very helpful. So hopefully something like that, a small bright spot. The other thing that happened that was kind of making the rounds was the Jurickson Profar hilariously bad defensive play from Tuesday. I know you weren't dialed in watching. Did you see the play? Have you seen the replay of this play?
I did see it. I know that I understand why there's so much.
It was really bad, Scott.
It was bad, man. I mean, it was. We've seen that play before where a ball is hit right at an outfielder and they kind of like freeze, and he should have gone backwards at it. It was like a comical looking play, and Profar's been really bad defensively. But yeah, I mean, that is a legitimate concern for a player who came into the year with questions about his defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's one play. I don't really care about one play. It was bad. It was amusingly bad. But the bigger thing is, and this is, of course, an offseason topic, but he is a bad defender. And we kind of knew that when we talked about it this winter when they signed him. It was like, hey, he could probably play left, but it's not like he's a good defender, and he's not. It's funny because he used to be a shortstop. Like, I'm old enough to remember when he was a prospect, he was a shortstop, and I can't imagine him playing shortstop. Can you imagine that? I mean, yeah, I'm sure you've seen this too. At the height of when Ozzie was like struggling the absolute most this year, people were asking us if Profar can play second base. It's like, guys, he can't play left field. No, he can't play second base. He's DH, and he's not. Actually, I'll ask you this: there was this comparison being made by many people in the last 2 days to Jorge Soler. Do you draw a distinction between Soler's defense was, I think, worse?
Yeah,
it looked worse. But people, I mean, some of the advanced numbers are actually similarly bad for Profar. I don't think for me, we're not at a spot where it's like last winter we were saying collectively as a body on the show, Soler cannot play left field ever again. Like, no, get him out of here. Are you feeling that way about Profar, or are we like going into next year like this? Because look, it's the curve you're grading on. But if he's a DH, he's not very good as a DH. Like you kind of have to mash if you're playing DH. If you're playing left field, it's like, all right, whatever, hit decently.
Yeah, Profar has a 115 WRC plus since coming off the suspension, which is good. Like that's kind of what we expected from him before we knew he was juicing.
Yep.
I think when they signed him this offseason, we're like, you know what? Last year, career year, we didn't know about the PEDs, but like a 115, 120 WRC plus for a position that has been a catastrophic black hole for years for the Braves, that seemed reasonable, and you would take it. That's a good hitting left fielder. It's not going to get you to the Hall of Fame, but I think Profar is really one of like 3 players that I am super locked into. Profar, Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, these final 2 months. How do they perform? How much confidence do they instill? Because I think Profar is going to hit enough, but that defense, I don't think it's Jorge Soler bad, but it's not like Soler where every night it was like, oh dear God, what an adventure. But it's been bad. I mean, in a month plus, I can count a couple times on my hand, just off the top of my head, where Profar made a bad play in left field and ended up giving up a hit that probably should have been caught.
Yeah, it's strongly negative out there so far. Maybe he can improve. He didn't, he wasn't playing for, it's his own fault, but he wasn't playing for a while. Maybe there's some rust if you want to be kind to him. I know Braves fans don't want to be kind to him, which I understand. He cost them a lot. So your point is the right one. We were never saying he was definitely going to be what he was last year. We were forecasting regression from that number. And that's kind of where he is at the plate. But if he's even if he is a 115 WRC plus guy in left field, if his defense is this bad, you're not loving it. Like, he's not unplayable, but that's not exciting. If he's a strongly negative defender and a pretty good hitter, that's not a great player. Like, it's better than Verdugo. It's better than Eli White's been, but like, it's not what you were hoping for. Yeah. So hopefully he could just be okay. Like, that's the thing with Profar defensively, is like, get him to be below average compared to catastrophic. That's the gap you're looking for.
And generally, left field is not a defensive position that's going to absolutely kill you. It can still hurt you, but it's not like it's a bad defensive shortstop.
Yeah. On Tuesday, I had someone very angrily arguing with me, telling me that they thought Ozuna would be better in left field than Profar, and they were serious. And I was like, Ozuna can't even run. Like, respectfully, stop. I understand the point you're trying to make. People are trying to be hyperbolic about the defense. It is bad with Profar. It has been bad. Hopefully it improves. But anyway, that was honestly, that was probably the most memorable thing that happened on Tuesday. Was the Profar defensive miscue. It made the rounds. Tonight's game, closer, 5-4 loss. The first thing, briefly, we'll talk about. Did you see the lineup revamp? Like, Snit decided to just put the names in a hat and just kind of jiggle them, and that was the lineup. It was. I don't really care, honestly, about the lineup construction right now. Season's over, but I do care about one thing, and that's that Baldwin didn't play today. I don't like that. He did pinch hit. He made the last out of the game. But I don't like Baldwin not playing. I get that it's a 8-game week, so maybe that's part of this, but just weird all the way around. Everything was weird.
Yeah, weird lineup. I kind of laughed when I saw. I'm like, whatever. Who cares? Like,
it doesn't matter. It was just one of those things. Like, you see the lineup card come out. We're all conditioned to do this. That we're dialed in. When the lineup comes out, we all kind of look at it, and it's like, if it's similar, it's kind of just shrug. But just to say it out loud, for people that maybe didn't see the game, it was Eli White leading off, Ozzie hitting second, and then it was, Nacho's got to play. So the rest of it was pretty conventional. But Profar got moved down. Ozuna was back in the lineup tonight. The biggest thing was, again, Eli White and Ozzie Albies 1 and 2. I mean, I understand you don't really care anymore, but like, what are we doing? Don't do that.
49
Whatever.
games of Brian Snitker left, Brad. 49 games.
Oh, that actually reminds me. We've been saying exactly that about Snit. Somebody actually very genuinely asked us, like, hey, have they announced it? No, like a lot of us are assuming Snit is not going to be back. No one has said anything or even reported it definitively. Now, the beat guys have all kind of talked about it pretty openly, like they're kind of assuming Snit's going to be gone. We are assuming that to retirement, to maybe a consulting role or whatever. But no one has said that. No one has announced that. That is a key distinction. I like to be precise. We're not breaking any news. We are assuming Snit's not going to be there anymore. But no one said that. In fact, someone was like, I think it was our friend at Capitol Avenue on Twitter was like, just wait for the moment when they announce that's going to be back next year, and the Twitter reaction to that. That'll go over well.
Yeah, the internet would actually explode. But Snit, his contract is up at the end of the season. What do they say about college coaches without a contract? It's not apples to apples, but there's a reason, man. Like if Snit was coming back, why would you not already extend him? The season has been bad. Like let me say this, Brad, if the Braves before this year did not renew Snit's contract, but they won 103 games and went to the World Series, okay, you can obviously write up a new extension, even if it's unconventional for managers to manage without a contract beyond the current year. But I mean, there's nothing this season that would lead me to believe that Snit will be back. Maybe he's in a front office role. Hell of a career, almost 50 years with the Braves. It's just remarkable. But
I mean, he's going to be 70 in October as well.
Yeah.
We can save this for later, but I think that we've never been the biggest Snit advocates, nor have we ever been the biggest Snit detractors. Is that fair? I think it is, Scott. Like I respect Brian Snitker. I think he's done a good job at a lot of things for a long time. I think he has some weaknesses. He always has. So I've never been like the zealot that some people are like, you cannot criticize Brian. Like, well, yes, I can. And I will. But others were like, he's a buffoon, get him out. And I don't feel the same way. I don't feel that way either. But when you're expiring contractually, when you'll be 70, and when your team does this for the season, it gives everybody cover across the. I mean, if you want to be cynical about it all, it gives Alex cover, it gives ownership cover, it gives Snit cover to say, hey, it's been a great. We'll tip the cap. I will. Everyone should be like extremely positive for the moment Snit retires. Everyone should give Snit his flowers. Hopefully, I know the Braves will, but even fans that don't like love him as a manager, the guy's been an organizational lifer. Like, it's a pretty easy layup. No issues off the field, like any of this stuff. Like he's an absolute layup of a guy to praise when he goes out the door.
He won a World Series, dude.
Correct.
Like if fans who overlook the world, I got to stop because I'm going to go on a crazy tangent. Fans who act like 2021 wasn't all that great. Oh, they just got hot. They weren't that good. Shut up. Who cares? Like, actually shut up. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Agreed. And also, yes, it was the playoffs are random. They are. But okay, they also could have won the World Series in other seasons when they were actually quote unquote that good of a team, and they didn't. So like, who cares? It balances out. They won the World Series. Fly forever. The old my I guess he's my friend. I mean, we've hung out some. Brian Windhorst of ESPN covers the NBA. What he says is, winning means you never have to say you're sorry. And it's like, hey, that's right. Basically, that's like his version of fly forever. It's basically if you win the World Series, who cares? You won.
Yep.
One more thing on the game tonight, and we'll get out of here. You mentioned Strider before. Strider, we think probably won't pitch all the way to the end. He had his worst start of the season tonight by the numbers. 4 2/3, 11 hits. He got hit really hard tonight. 5 runs. Like, it wasn't like a total catastrophe, but like he was not good. Like he did not look great today. He got hit hard. Anything you want to flag about that, or just wanted to say it out loud? Like it didn't look great. He's the only guy in the rotation that everybody likes right now, but he wasn't very good today.
No, and the last couple starts for Spencer have not been very good. I'm wondering if he's starting to hit a little bit of a wall physically. He, of course, barely pitched last year, and then coming all the way back from the surgery, he's not getting as much swing and miss as he was earlier in the season either, when he was really rolling. So, it's the first week, almost second week of August. I would pitch Spencer up until Labor Day and then probably call it quits for the season. You just don't need to send him out there, and hopefully he can be better than this moving forward. But it was really, he was getting hit hard really from the first inning on.
Yeah, it was not one of those games where you give a bunch of soft stuff and get unlucky. Like we'll point that out when it happens. It was not that today. He got hit hard. All right. Well, Scott, we can get out of here. We alluded to it earlier. The Braves have a 5-game series against the Marlins. It begins on Thursday. Yes, 5 games. They're playing a doubleheader on Saturday. Boy, that'll be a long day at the office. They did announce probables for a few games today. It's Carrasco on. Oh, sorry, Carlos. I can't help but laugh. Carlos Carrasco on Thursday. Bryce Elder on Friday. And Saturday is still TBD. It seems like it's probably going to be Waldrop, we think, in one of those games, but they haven't said that yet. So just strap in. We'll have at least one more show between now and then. That's the plan anyway, between now and the weekend. So we'll have an update on who's going to pitch for the weekend. But the Marlins being 9-10 games ahead of the Braves is just unthinkable, but that's where we are. So
yeah. And you know what? The Marlins are a great story. Out of nowhere, these guys have been one of the better teams. I think only the Brewers actually have a better record than the Miami Marlins over almost 7 or 8 weeks at this point, which is nuts. Good on the Marlins, a team that was left for dead, a team that has no payroll, and they're winning games. And
actually, I just saw this. The Marlins have a worse run differential than the Braves do.
Of course. That's what happens when you go 0-96 in one-run games like the Braves have done this year.
Sorry, I didn't mean I was just looking at it. I wanted to go see what the Marlins record was, and then I just thought, they're minus 48. The Braves are minus 30.
A crazy thing, if the Braves lay down this weekend, the Marlins are only 5 games back of the Mets in the loss column in the East right now.
Yeah, 6 games, 5 games, a lot. Yeah, because the Mets are 2 I think they went 2-8 in the last 10. They're kind of.
The Mets are bad, legitimately bad for 2 months now.
I can't wait in late September and October when we're not talking about the Braves. We'll be talking about we'll be rooting against the Mets and the Phillies because that's what Braves fans should do. And yeah, I saw your exchange with, I think it was James Shiano of Mets Up, our colleague on the network, basically offering to trade them records because and the Mets fans are in meltdown, and I get why they're playing like crap and they have been for a while. But it's hey, how about some perspective? Because the Braves are currently 15 games behind the Mets.
It's funny. It's almost like the two organizations have flipped, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
I think when James was on our show in the spring, he was like, "Yeah, I would love for the Braves problems to be the Mets problems." Now, little did we know the season ahead was around on the corner, but
we'll switch.
Just bad year. But hey, maybe as long as we'll be rooting hard for whoever the Mets. If the Mets make the playoffs, whoever the Mets draw, whoever the Phillies draw, Phillies are a good team. I almost might pick the Phillies to win the World Series or at least get there from the National League because they're playing pretty well and they are built for October. And this also just feels like, and then we'll move on, but it just feels like the Phillies are kind of near the end of their reign with the ages of some of those players. So we'll see. It feels like the playoffs are about as wide open this year as they have been in a long time.
I wish them nothing but the worst, to be honest, but I understand what you said
Me
there.
too.
You're right. They're good. It's a good team. Okay, Scott, let's get out of here on this Wednesday evening. Again, we'll have another show between now and Sunday, probably with our colleagues, Sean and Steven, on that pod. But please stay tuned. Please subscribe to Hammer Territory anywhere you find your podcasts. Follow Scott if you want to on X/Twitter at Scott Coleman 55. Lots of Colts takes these days. We're getting close on the Indianapolis Colts. Quarterback battles in full swing, training camp stuff. Scott, fantasy football. What else talking about?
Let's do 25 minutes on Brad's takes on the Atlanta Falcons for 2025.
You don't want that. Maybe I can talk to my guy, Aaron Freeman from Locked On Falcons, to have me on the podcast. I have lots of Falcons takes. I just don't want to offer them here. I'm pessimistic as I always am about the Falcons, but I do love them. That's my cleanest fan experience. I've never covered them full time. I'm just a maniac like everybody else with them. It's just, I hate them, but I love them. It is what it is. Sports in a nutshell. Scott, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. As always, your flexibility and my recording times. As for everybody else, again, one more time, please subscribe to Hammer Territory. I know it's not fun right now to follow the Braves, to watch the Braves, to consume the Braves, but we're going to be here the entire time. No days off, no weeks off. We'll be covering them. So subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll see you all next time.